I had to wear this fragrance about 5 times before I could make this review. Let's find out why.
Here's some codes to save you some cash on your next Middle Eastern niche or designer fragrances.
What's going on, guys? My name is Neeb. Welcome back to AROMATIX. So you heard me right. I legitimately had to wear this about 5 times before I can actually fully dissect this fragrance. The reason that it took me about 5 wearings is because of the sheer complexity of this fragrance. The sheer complexity doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be an amazing fragrance by any means, actually, and that's really not the case in this scenario, but rather it's an extremely long-lasting fragrance. It's extremely high quality. It definitely is. I have to give it that. And it has numerous transitions that you really have to break it down. Like I genuinely had to study this fragrance the entire day. I had to consciously take notes. I had to see where I was at different parts of the day. And honestly, that's genuinely the type of effort that I put into reviewing all of my fragrances. I personally can't stand in front of the camera unless I've personally taken notes, actually know what I want to say about the fragrance. I don't really script anything. I study it. I write it down just so I can solidify the thoughts in my mind. And then I end up here on camera. No script, nothing. So AbdulSamad AlQurashi, this is an iconic fragrance. This fragrance has actually been duped by Boadicea the Victorious, Blue Sapphire. I mean, it's to the T. And in fact, if you want something the best way, you're going to go to the original. And that's even the case with the dupes. Very rare have there been dupes that actually beat the original. And if that was the case with Blue Sapphire, I would admit it. AbdulSamad AlQurashi, the whole brand has an extensive history. They've started for a long time. Middle Eastern perfumery has been around for a long time. This one has a phenomenal presentation. The quality of the glass, all of the engravings in the cap. I mean, this cap is heavy metal. It snaps into place despite it being able to spin. There's a lot of etchings. The collar and the details, it's a 10 out of 10. Presentation-wise, they absolutely murder the game. But the scent profile of this is not easy, and it's not going to be for everybody. So I've watched a lot of reviews where everybody just praises this. I don't really enjoy this, and that's the honest truth. However, I'm not going to allow this to sway my opinion in regards to what the fragrance actually smells like. So let's just get started with, first off, the notes. So some of the notes per Fragrantica, it actually limits a lot of the notes. This is not the full list breakdown. And they used to have the breakdown on the website, and it was a lot more notes. There were some aromatic nuances, or aromatic notes rather, and now on Fragrantica, it's only limited to about 6. Why they removed the notes is beyond me, but nevertheless, per Fragrantica, it's amber, it's oud, sandalwood, musk, Italian lemon, and lily of the valley. Per the actual website, they used to have a top breakdown, a middle breakdown, and a base breakdown. Upon initial blast, which is going to be a strong blast, please be cautioned. Do not spray this more than like 3 times. You guys, I sprayed this on about 7 times, and it was a mistake. Legitimately a mistake. So I'm usually in a home of like 10 to 15 sprays minimum. With this fragrance, you absolutely can't do that. I'm going to spray it now just so you guys can take a look at the atomizer. It's pressurized, it's strong, it's a beam of freaking juice. It's a good atomizer, and I can taste it. It's a really strong fragrance. You really have to be careful with the trigger. You have been warned, and I need to go spit this out. So if beast mode is what you're about, this is like beast mode on another level, okay? So initial blast, what do I get? I got a pretty hefty dose of lemon, some kind of salty nuance, and then everything else. So Lily of the Valley contributes this nice white floral nuance, which can go a little bit soapy. And then you're going to get this animalic musk, which really contributes to that whole salty vibe, and a woods backdrop. So during the first 2 hours, it's going to stay true to that exact descriptor. Lemon, salty vibes from the animalic musk, and some of those white florals, slightly soapy, and a woody backdrop. It really doesn't change too much. Rather, what happens is that the nuances start to fluctuate a little bit. And thank God, because that initial blast, I mean, it's really strong. The scent profile of something like this can be abrasive, and it absolutely can be offensive. If you spray this on more than 3 times, you will turn people off. With that being said, this is going to classify it as a fragrance that is just absolute sheer masculinity. The type of personality for this fragrance has to be extremely confident. You have to be grown. This is a grown man that has his shit together. Straight up. If you're not in that serious, masculine, and just like rough around the edges type of vibe, this fragrance will absolutely wear you. And this also stays true for Blue Sapphire by Boadicea the Victorious. I'll get to why that descriptor is not really a part of my scent profile once we get through the rest of the transitions of the fragrance. So for the first 2 hours, like I said, you get that relatively consistent lemon, animalic musk, which gives it that salty aquatic nuance with a backdrop of woods, and that white floral, slightly soapy, not too soapy type of vibe. So this remains consistent for the first 2 hours. Granted, everything I described smells like the highest quality of them all. It's the best quality lemon, it's the best quality musk, and it's the best quality of everything else. At around hour 3 to hour 4, things start to shift a little bit. The lemon is significantly dialed down, but it still remains relatively aromatic, salty, and woody. Except now what ends up happening is that it made way for a lot of those woods to shine through and the ambers to start to warm things up. So with the warming up of the ambers, the citruses started to tone down. Well, really, it's just the lemon vibe, and those salty aquatic nuances kind of toned down as well. I really contribute some of those salty vibes that it's definitively there for sure. It's almost like on the seaside type of vibes. I believe it to genuinely come from the animalic nature of the musk. Considering that this is probably using the highest of quality of ingredients, the musk is probably something of real nature, if not a synthesized version of something that's going to smell exactly like that. So slightly salty, coming from the whole animalic nuance, or influence rather. Distinctively salty type of vibe with that lemon, and now the warm woods and that cashmere musk vibe starts to creep through. It still remains relatively abrasive or rough around the edges, although it does start to kind of tone down with the introduction of some of those ambers. And the lily of the valley in this fragrance really does kind of soften it out just a little bit, but this is by no means a soft fragrance whatsoever. This is a pretty abrasive fragrance, and it's not going to be anything that's going to be remotely near soft. I wouldn't necessarily call this a synthetic fragrance, but I would use the classification of sharp. Sharp, salty, woody, and musky. That's what I get with this one. It is extremely aromatic as well. A lot of descriptors for a very complex fragrance. This isn't a fragrance, like I said, that I could just break down right away. It took me 5 wears to really break this down. Doesn't necessarily mean that I enjoyed every 5 wear, and if I'm being 100% honest, I really did not enjoy wearing this one too much, and I personally would not wear this fragrance again. Aside from testing purposes, I don't ever see myself wanting to rock this fragrance. This does have a lot of resemblances to fragrances like Electimus London's Auster as well, and that whole Blue Day, not Blue Day Chanel, Blue Sapphire, like I said. All of these same vibes that I get from those fragrances, you're going to get it from this, but this is going to do it in the absolute best way. This is like Italian mob boss, Middle Eastern mob boss, Saudi Arabian royalty money on like steroids, straight up. It just screams money. This is that CEO that's let's only talk business vibes. This is not somebody that wants to be approachable or make a, get a girl or attract a woman or anything like that. This is somebody who wants to exude just like this aura of, hey, I am made of gold. Except that's not necessarily going to be a very approachable type of scent profile. And for all people and purposes, they're going to differ. Fragrances don't have to necessarily serve one purpose. For you, it might make sense that I only wear fragrances to attract, and for another person, I only wear fragrances to keep people away, and, the reasons are endless. For that exact reason, this fragrance, in my opinion, is going to be, I just want to smell like freaking dollar bills and gold. That's what this is. The reason why this scent profile is not for me is because I am a more inviting type of person. It does not by any means mean that I lack the confidence of a fragrance like this, but I feel like this is a bit too loud for my personality. I enjoy the similar vibes, but with a more seductive approach. I like something that's not necessarily soft, but a lot more warm and inviting. While I do see a crowd for this type of fragrance, it is not personally for me. It's a little rough around the edges, and my personality or my persona, for me personally, I don't consider myself rough around the edges. But for those that are like Wolf on Wall Street vibes with Middle Eastern money or Arabian money, this is what this is all about. This is in fact considered a masterpiece in the Middle Eastern community, but not only in the Middle Eastern community, just in the fragrance community in general. And while I respect that, and I can totally see because of its sheer complexity, it's not necessarily a fragrance that I would sit here and tell you guys I recommend. I actually would not wear this fragrance ever. Maybe not. Maybe once I'm like 50 years old, and that's the crowd of people that I can see this one on. If you just want a signature strong-ass scent that smells like straight-up money, that's the vibes this is all about. You definitely have to enjoy aquatic, aromatic, woody. I mean, this does like 5 different things at once, unapologetically. Each one is just uppercutting you on a different level. This is a punch, a sucker punch in every way. And for that exact reason, I really can't say that about many of the fragrances that I own, many of the fragrances that I reviewed. For that reason alone, I can honestly say that I agree with the fact that it is a masterpiece in that respect or in that regards. A lot of the reason why it took me 5 days is because I didn't really enjoy wearing it on a lot of those days. But nevertheless, the complexity, the way that this one transitioned, And I mean, I didn't even get to the very end. It's a lot to say, honestly. Once I hit like 8-hour mark, you guys, it even changed at that point. At the 8-hour mark, I was just getting straight up animalic musk and woods and amber. It was still there. This is Eternal Juice. It's a 10 out of 10 in terms of complexity, in terms of quality. But for me personally, I will not recommend this, and I will not personally wear it. If you enjoy what I described or anything I described, if you like Electimus London's Auster, or if you enjoy Blue Sapphire, this is the best one out of the entire category of those fragrances. Lemon, woods, musk on the seashore. That's exactly what I get with this one. A lot of salty fragrances on my skin personally can come off like BO, and I think that's a huge reason why I didn't really care for this one too much. I don't want to say that I didn't enjoy wearing it. I mean, even though I didn't really care for it too much, I really did enjoy the journey, and that's why I love reviewing fragrances, because of how involved and how invested and how deep into thought and just the complexity really soaked me in on this fragrance. It was not one that I enjoyed wearing, but it was a great experience for sure. AbdulSamad AlQurashi Blend. This was a journey. It definitely was a journey. I'm not going to give it a rating. I don't think that's fair. I also gave it 5 days because of the number of reviews, or the lack of reviews that are giving, you know, an unbiased review from all different perspectives for it and against it, and really being neutral, which I tried to do my best to offer all 3 different perspectives here during this review. And that's all I have to say about this fragrance. If you enjoyed watching this video, please make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and until the next one, peace.